Ladies and gentlemen, it's my great pleasure to have our closing Pinnacle keynote that'll be introduced by Rob Davies of CA Technologies. Rob is the current Vice President of Services for CA. He's more than 20 years of experience supporting federal agencies, commercial business, and IT. He's worked in business development, marketing, technical support, project management, proposal development, and corporate management. Please join me in warmly welcoming Rob Davies to the stage.
Hi, good morning, everybody. And thank you, Craig, and thank you all for your attendance here at NASIO. I'd also like to take the opportunity to thank so many of you who are CA customers in the room. It's a long partnership for us with NASIO and for many of you, and we thank you for your business and for all that we do together for government. And, you know, we help you deliver, and we're totally committed to helping you improve the efficiency of how you manage, evaluate, consume, and deliver IT to your citizens and to your users. So again, thank you. I'd like to thank NASIO for putting on a fantastic conference here in Philadelphia. And I'd also like to thank the city. Beautiful weather, and certainly a city very rich and critical in American history. So it was a great week. Thank you very much. And lastly, I'd like to thank you, the CIOs. You do a tremendous amount of work for state government. You bring government to the people. Every day you deliver for the people, and that's in stark contrast to our federal government right now, unfortunately. So thank you for making sure that your citizens and your users have the services they need to interact with government. That's very vital. I'm here, as you know, to introduce Mayor Michael Nutter. And all of us have a chance to, evaluate people and doing research about the mayor. And I thought about, wow, I have to, talk about this remarkable person. And I started thinking about the resumes I had to evaluate as you hire and bring people into your organization. And then I thought, if this resume crossed my desk, this is a remarkable individual for all that he's accomplished. He is a hometown guy. He was born, raised, and educated here in Philadelphia. And not only just educated, but at one of the premier universities in the country and indeed the world, at the Wharton School. That is not an easy place to get into, and it certainly is a signal of achievement at an early age. He then cut his teeth before turning to politics and investment banking. Again, very competitive and very difficult place to enter straight out of college. But he'd always had a public service background, serving in the city council for nearly 15 years before deciding to run for mayor in 2006, where he was first elected in 2007. And then he was again elected in 2011. And like many of you, just being mayor wasn't enough. Like you participate in NASIO, he served as the president of the United States Conference of Mayors, just ending his term in June of this year. So, just the day job of being mayor wasn't enough for this individual so committed to public service. And as mayor, he's focused on a number of initiatives, again, that are fundamental to government and fundamental to doing good for the people. Improving high school graduation rates and accessibility to college, so important for our children and for the youth of America. He's worked very hard to strengthen community policing, creating a unique initiative here in Philadelphia called Philly Rising, where police and neighborhood community groups and neighborhood citizens band together to participate in making a safer and better community, and that helps certainly education, business, and the overall health of the city. He helped manage Philadelphia successfully through the Great Recession, closing a $2.5 billion budget gap over 5 years without impacting a single public service, fire, safety, public health worker, and that's a remarkable achievement, especially when you look at what the federal government's going through and had to do in the last 2 or 3 years to meet similar goals. He's also maintained a very strong commitment to the environment and to green technologies, helping make Philadelphia one of the greenest cities in America. He's increased the use of alternative fuels to 14% from 2%. And he's also decrease energy usage in the city by 7%. After a tragedy with which we're all familiar too at Sandy Hook in Connecticut, he launched an initiative with gun manufacturers, a code of responsibility called the Sandy Hook Principles, to help them to create a code of conduct, a set of principles that gun manufacturers can adhere to for responsible gun laws and gun use. And lastly, he's created Cities United, a partnership between city governments, nonprofits, businesses, and other stakeholders to help combat violence and crime amongst African American boys and men. That is a pretty impressive resume and a pretty impressive set of credentials. And I can tell by the energy that he's brought to his career that, you know, he is far from done. He's not somebody that I think sits back. He's always moving forward. Michael Nutter is married with 2 children. And lastly, I'm going to go out on a limb and guess that, judging by his Twitter photo, that he is a Phillies fan in one of America's greatest sports towns. So it is my distinct pleasure and honor to introduce to you all the Honorable Mayor Michael Nutter.
I love that music. Rob, thank you very, very much. I was really just standing over to the side, starting to actually like the guy that he was talking about with all that stuff. The guy's pretty busy. But the reason I get to do all of those things, of course, is that I have one of the greatest groups of public servants to work with on a daily basis, and so the credit really does go to them. I do want to thank Rob for that very personal, excuse me, introduction, and I know that you've been here for more than a few days, and so I certainly would naturally and normally welcome you to the city of brotherly love and sisterly affection, but you've been here for a few days, and I know that you've had an opportunity to see many of the sites and experience the city of Philadelphia, my hometown, as the host city, and for that, I want to say thank you very, very much. You have many, many options all across the country, and certainly a prestigious organization such as yours can land and have a conference in any city across the country, and we are very, very appreciative that you would choose the city of Philadelphia. I want to thank all of the CIOs in the room for your commitment to your home cities and states each and every day. And no matter what that I stands for, whether it's information or infrastructure or innovation, certainly you all play critical roles in making sure that governments run efficiently and effectively. I'm sorry that one of the governments apparently does not know how to run and may have impacted some folks in their participation. But our government is open, and cities all across America are open because our citizens would never, ever stand for the kind of nonsense that goes on in Washington, D.C. and amongst our federal government leaders. And so cities really are, again, and states demonstrating that we know how to take care of our business, we know how to run our entities, and you all are a critical part of that. Let me recognize just a couple folks. First, of course, is Craig Orgeron, Mississippi's Chief Innovation Officer, Executive Director of the Department of Information Technology Services, and NASCIO's President. Can we please recognize our great President? And since he was appointed in 2011, Craig has been pushing the boundaries around virtualization, technology integration, and cost effectiveness and broadband adoption for Mississippi. Tony Encianis is Pennsylvania's own Chief Information Officer and has worked hard to streamline state government and improve customer service using technology across the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Can we please recognize Tony? And of course, right here in Philadelphia, almost sound like I'm down at Citizens Bank Park. Batting third is Adele Habib, Philadelphia's own Chief Innovation Officer. And you heard from Adele earlier in the conference on a panel, of course, discussing the delicate balance of maintaining vital networks, applications, and systems, while at the same time creating innovation an innovation-friendly environment. Adele's been leading the charge for change right here in the city of Philadelphia. And under his leadership, our city has expanded our customer service capabilities by integrating new digital platforms into our everyday government functions. And he's even taught me more than a thing or two about technology, modernized our city's technology infrastructure, and has emphasized many innovation principles. And for his commitment to using public technology for community engagement, Adele was honored as a White House Champion of Change in 2012. We are very, very lucky to have him and his team here in Philadelphia. And Adele, we are very proud of you and the work that you're doing. So please do me a favor and recognize one of your own, Adele Habib, and the great work that he and his team are doing. Adele, thank you. Now, they tell me this conference is pretty intense, a lot of workshops, and they really kind of had you hold up here at the Marriott for the last couple of days. But I do hope that you have had a chance to get out and seriously get to see some of the sights and sounds of our great city, visiting some of our many, many great restaurants, and experiencing the vibrant arts and music and cultural attractions here in Philadelphia. Philly is a quite unique city, steeped in history and culture, but completely modern at the same time. And of course, you can go back to the 1600s and certainly 1776, and a few important things really did happen right here in Philadelphia. And you'll see at the same time from that old city view looking west, and see some of the most modern architecture, and of course the tallest LEED certified building in the United States of America, the Comcast Center, just a few blocks away. Now that balance of historic and modern makes Philadelphia an exciting and interesting place in which to visit and live, but that's the same matrix of old and new that challenges all of us in our respective governments. So today I want to talk about the old and the new, what we're doing in Philadelphia to dismantle government silos and cultivate new ideas, how we are working to make government more accessible to the regular citizens walking up and down the street every day, and how the use of technology, without which none of the many advantages and changes that we're talking about would ever occur. Now, as was mentioned earlier, I did spend 14 and a half years on Philadelphia City Council before running for mayor, but I've been interested in these issues of innovation and change for a long, long period of time. And during those 14 and a half as mayor, and now nearly 14 and a half in City Council, and now nearly 6 as mayor, transformation and change and innovation has been a part of my focus for now 20 years in public office, elected office. Our administration's approach has been one of modernizing, streamlining, and also taking measured risk. I'd like to say that we're working to institutionalize innovation in our city. And it really is, in many instances, about overcoming the old with the help of the new. Let me give you a few examples. Our city's Department of Revenue, which is responsible for collecting and processing the taxes that are owed to the city, uses software and operating systems literally from the early 90s. That's the equivalent of a building constructed, from our perspective, in the 1700s. The department's outdated systems and technology have, for years, hindered our ability to collect the taxes that are due and, in turn, provide valuable financial resources to our school district and services to our own citizens. We've increased revenue collections in the past few years, and we've seen some improvement, but Philadelphia, unfortunately, still has significant issues with delinquent taxes, but we're getting better. So we're investing in updating our revenue department's technology infrastructure, like software and computers, the various operating systems. And we're also creating a data warehouse and using analytics to determine which delinquent taxpayers to target first and how to target them. We're also going to establish a call center and facilitate intergovernmental, interdepartmental conversation to improve collection methods and results. No more playing one department against the other and hoping that they're not communicating with each other. We believe that updating the Revenue Department's systems and using strategic approaches and supporting the supporting data will help us to increase our delinquent tax collection, and we're already seeing some results from those changes. It's really another example of how looking at the old ways that we have been doing things has held us back, and how new approaches can help us move forward. Old systems simply can't support or sustain new ideas. Old systems lack the physical capabilities in the same ways that we similarly talk about maintaining the status quo. The 1980s style of government lacks the flexibility to navigate the 21st century world. And even in areas associated with manual labor and large numbers of people doing work, technology can still help. When you think about trash collection, of course, it's a very labor-intensive job. But that doesn't mean that we can't use technology to aid us in making even that service more efficient. For instance, using GEO mapping and data mapping to help us determine the fastest and most efficient and direct route to collect that trash and save money. Generally, integrating technology into city governments and governments in general is often, unfortunately, a pretty slow process. We're often the last adopters to do things. But there is room for new advancements in a modern government, and harnessing it will only improve our ability to meet the needs of our citizens. In my administration, we've started with reassessing what was then the Department of Technology. We were using a very capable tech team to the fullest, and we're asking ourselves the question, were we really using them to the fullest by simply letting them manage our servers and fix our computers? Clearly, the answer was no. So we reinvigorated the office with a new focus and broader job descriptions in August of 2011. The Office of Innovation and Technology now oversees all major information and communications technology initiatives for the entire city government. One of the first tasks at hand was modernizing our technology infrastructure and legacy systems with a $120 million capital investment program. And over the last 2 years, we've done a few of these things. We've stabilized our systems and applications. We've strengthened our cybersecurity and improved our ability to answer persistent threats that I know all of you are familiar with. We've migrated more than a dozen key systems to the cloud to improve operational efficiency, engineered a city and county-wide radio system to simplify communications across all public sector services. We've upgraded the technology platform that supports our 911 operating system and migrated all City of Philadelphia employees into a single email system. And we've outlined more than 20 critical requests for proposals for vendors and partners to assist us in upgrading the most unstable systems that support critical services. And of those more than 20 projects, 8 contracts have been awarded already, another 6 are in the final stages of completion. We anticipate most of these projects will be done by the end of 2015. These internal infrastructure upgrades ensure our data systems and applications are able to handle the flow of work that we do every day and prevent system breakdowns that leave us possibly unable to provide services to our citizens. And at the same time, we're working in a very deliberate and methodical way to advance our systems that serve the public. Over the last 2 years, we've created more than a dozen service and mobile apps, including one that was released just last week, to improve customer service and citizen engagement. Now, I happen to personally believe, and I've tried to drive this through the organization, that civic engagement really is the ultimate community empowerment tool. Like many other cities, we launched our version, of course, of Philly 311, a city government call center and a website that provides citizens with direct access to city services. You only need to remember one phone number anymore. We answer their questions, update them on upcoming events, programs, and deadlines. And it has really worked wonders for us, certainly with massive weather events and other emergencies. Our Philly 311 department also has one of the most active Twitter accounts in our government. And followers can tweet issues or questions to @Philly311, and we'll get a response from the appropriate department. A little more than a year ago, we launched a complimentary mobile app to Philly 311. It is the most streamlined user experience in the 311 market right now. It uses GPS location technology to allow citizens to report problems simply by snapping a photo and tapping it on through the app. Requests are automatically routed to our city department work order systems for response and service. And all the while, users can track the status of their individual requests and are notified directly once the work order is completed. In addition to posting individual service requests through the 311 mobile app, users can view other requests from their neighborhood and around the city and post requests and comments through that same app. The Philly 311 mobile app makes filing a request for city services as easy and accessible as possible. We're experimenting with mobile platforms in other ways beyond apps. In 2011, Philadelphia was selected as an IBM Smarter Cities Challenge grant winner. We're exploring the idea of creating what I've referred to always as anytime, anywhere, any device learning, and creating the tools to improve workforce development for our young people and adults all across the city. Workforce development and literacy skills are critical to the future success of Philadelphia's economy. With more than half of all Philadelphians lacking basic education skills needed to enter the working world, we don't have the workforce that is qualified enough to get many of the jobs that are available right here in Philadelphia. And unfortunately, if we don't address this issue immediately, it will only get worse, with an estimated 600,000 Philadelphians possibly lacking the skills they need to be successful in the 21st century economy. We will not be able to attract the new businesses or retain businesses already located here if we don't do something immediately to stem the tide of underskilled and undereducated workers. With IBM support, the involvement of key philanthropists and the work of critical partners, we developed a program called Digital On-Ramps. It uses online and mobile technology to help Philadelphians accumulate the workforce training and literacy skills they need to compete in the 21st century economy. We've developed a new digital curriculum with the help of workforce agencies and private sector employers. Digital on-ramp users who enroll in the program will be able to accumulate the skills that employers want to fill positions that are actually open right now in the job market. It uses cloud technology to create a sort of digital portfolio for digital on-ramps users, allowing them to carry their resume, training credentials, letters of recommendations, and other accomplishments out in the digital world. Ensuring digital on-ramps users won't be tied to a computer or a classroom to learn was critical because more than a third of Philadelphians lack direct access to the internet at home. The issue of digital access is a serious concern, not just for Philadelphia and other cities, but I believe for the entire nation, and is a part of the national security concern that all of us should share. Through bridging the digital divide and dealing with this complicated task will require help beyond what cities can provide, and Philadelphia is working to provide more access to our citizens. But as I mentioned earlier, this really is a state and national issue. Using American Reinvestment and Recovery Act dollars, we launched 77 public computer systems called KeySpots all across the city and created 170 jobs. Our KeySpots make access to the internet just a short walk away from your home. It offers how-to classes, targeted programming options, and personalized assistance for the citizens to utilize its services. Our KeySpots focus on access and adoption. And so far, we've had more than 350,000 visits to KeySpots all across the city. Removing traditional boundaries is one of the keys to innovation in government. It can mean streamlining very convoluted processes to making simpler approaches, breaking through government and departmental silos by encouraging collaboration across those departments and with outside government entities. Let's start with providing better support to in-the-field workers by streamlining their own internal workflows. Earlier this year, Philadelphia was the only U.S. city named a showcase city in the Microsoft CityNext program. Designed to accelerate innovation in global cities, this program is helping our Department of Licenses and Inspections to improve communication between the in-the-field inspectors and their in-office managers through a proof of concept study, the results of which we're looking to later this fall. Essentially, city inspectors will use the Microsoft Surface Pro tablets, of which I am a user, and other collaboration tools in the field, increasing the number of field inspections conducted weekly, but also decreasing the time spent in the office and allowing for more efficient routing to and rescheduling of our field resources. These field inspectors are still doing the same job, just in a new, more efficient way. It should be common sense to make it as easy as possible for our great public employees to do their work on behalf of our citizens. benefits every one of those public employees, and equally, if not more important, the citizens that we serve. And at the same time, we must realize that government doesn't always know how to best help our citizens to help themselves. And that's one of the goals of our open data policy, to publish city data for use by citizens and data consumers, like members of the tech and entrepreneurial and business and education communities across our city and region. And the other goal is governmental transparency, because that's the right policy. In April of 2012, I signed an executive order formally creating our open data policy. Since then, we've released 62 new high-value data sets, including property value information, vacant property information, and the police department's Part 1 crime data, which was named the top open data release of 2012 by Atlantic Cities last December. And as a result, we're seeing more apps and services being produced by individuals who are typically on the outside of government, but they're doing it for the public good. In the coming months, we will be releasing transportation and travel data. For example, the miles and miles of bike lanes that crisscross the city and where they are, where bike thefts happen and where bike racks are located. We'll also include flight information for our great international airport, Philly International, that will complement our previous SEPTA data release. We'll also release salary and expenditure data. Public employees really love that. Cities all across the world have embraced open data as an important tool for government transparency, efficiency, and civic innovation. And as of today, dozens of cities have created and implemented formal open data policies, and so has our federal government. With only 4 states implementing an open data policy, it is certainly my hope and expectation that cities will continue to serve as beacons, in many instances, for our states to follow our examples. I believe that sharing high-value information will not only help us to solve problems, but of course, better serve our citizens. It isn't new for the sake of being new. It's innovation to create positive change. In partnership with Philadelphia University, we're developing the Academy of Municipal Innovation to provide formal training about innovation principles to our own city employees. We're creating an innovation lab centrally located in a Center City municipal building to provide an informal meeting space for our employees, members of the startup community, private sector enterprise, and the nonprofit sector. The lab will host hackathons and scheduled programming and serve as a space where individuals can meet and share ideas. We're also building an interdepartmental innovation working group to generate and refine creative ideas that allow us to implement a variety of solutions and create pilot initiatives. It's in its early stages, but we've already seen ideas become reality from this particular group. Using property value data and the ingenuity of a few folks, this group created a widget called the AVI calculator. AVI stands for Actual Value Initiative. We've fixed our broken property assessment system. And that enables citizens to look at the assessed value of properties across the city of Philadelphia and compute the property tax by just entering the address. This group also created a portal that notifies technology vendors about contracting opportunities with the city of Philadelphia. We're facilitating a civic innovation also through the Mayor's Office of New Urban Mechanics. This is an idea that we borrowed appropriately from Mayor Menino in Boston. I always give him credit for this idea. It's a relatively small office. Jeff Friedman is here from Monum. And they pilot civic projects across city departments, looking for better ways to engage partners inside and outside of government to create solutions to long-standing problems. We don't mind sharing some of the challenges. And from time to time, they will come up with something that will work. From time to time, they'll come up with something that may fail. And I give them the space and the freedom to do both. And in the end, it's really about challenging ourselves as public servants to be more than just deliverers of service, but to be creators of change. We have to look at the past and use it to move our city or our state and certainly our nation forward. It's about embracing what's new when it's in the best interest of our citizens. I firmly believe that transformation in city government is best when it's in the interest of our citizens and serves the greatest number of people in the most efficient and effective way. I hope that transformation occurs using innovation principles. Every time we answer a question, we should be ready and thinking about the next question. We have to grow from knowledge. We should never settle for where we are. We need to be thinking always, what's next? We should never stop learning or exploring what we can do differently or better for our citizens. That is true innovation. I know where we've been most successful, breaking down silos, communicating and collaborating with our citizens and our partners outside of government, and continuing to push the boundaries of what is expected from government. And just look at what happened in the past few short years. We've opened our data, which paired with the entrepreneurial spirit of our citizens has led to new innovations and improved government function. We've had thousands of calls and app downloads from 311, leaving Philadelphia a little better than it was just the day before. We've helped our citizens become better learners through the use of their own phone in their pocket and turned it into a great use of technology in their hands. We've helped ourselves provide better service to our citizens using modern technology tools. Philadelphia as a city is a perfect balance of the historic and the modern. As a city government, I think we are a great example of balancing the old way of getting stuff done and the new approaches to make things happen even better. Thank you. So I was told that you might want to have some Q&A. You might not want to have any Q&A. You might want to move on to the next section.
Good morning, Mayor.
Good morning.
Can you tell us how much use, I think you said your eSpots or the
eSpots.
Yeah, how much use is that getting from citizens? Especially interested about, teaching people and giving people the opportunity to use it.
So there's 77 all across the city. Some are in our own recreation facilities, some are in nonprofit organizations. They've been up, I think, about 2 years, and I think, if I'm remembering my own remarks, I think we've had about 325,000 visits. They get active use all across the city. That, of course, started with the ARA funding, which, of course, has gone away. And so we've taken on much of the financial responsibility, and we're trying to bring in some philanthropic partners to keep many of the community sites open. All the city sites, all the sites that are in our own facilities are all operational, and we've put money in the FY14 budget to make sure that happened, but we want the community sites to stay open as well. When the project started, the estimate was that 41% of Philadelphians did not have access to the internet in their home. Today, that number is 30%. And so clearly, again, we know this works, and people want the technology, they want the access, and access to the internet today, I would say, is the equivalent of 50 years ago, folks were trying to access a lunch counter. They're trying to access a job. They're trying to access a particular civil right. Access to the internet is a civil right.
Good morning. I have a non-IT question for you. Is it true?
I'm not capable of answering a
I
non-IT
know.
question.
Is it true that Philadelphia now has a quarterback controversy?
Well, just like there's only one mayor at a time, there's only one quarterback at a time. And my deal with all the coaches and skippers on all the teams is I don't tell them how to run their shop, and they don't tell me how to run my shop, and we all get along very well together. So whoever Coach Kelly wants to put out on the field, that's who's going to be out there. Go Eagles. Beat Dallas.
Thank you for your comments. Tony Parm, Innovation Officer for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
For where? From where?
Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Got it.
So thank you for your description of all the innovative things that you're doing in Philadelphia. Question, so as you and your team are doing so much, what do you find to be kind of the biggest obstacles to innovation in the organization, and how do you address those strategies and such?
We may be the only place that experiences this. I can't imagine this goes on in any other place. But, Philadelphians, inside and outside of government, Philadelphians love change. They embrace change. They love change so much as long as things can stay the same. And so I think the great challenge, I mean, one, in many instances, making change costs money, right? So never enough resource. Then, of course, really is well, we've always done it this way. So I told folks when I came into office as mayor, I said, I'll give a free pass to the first person who responds to my question of why do we do it that way, because that's the way we've always done it. I said the first person who says that gets a pass. The second person who says that gets fired. I haven't heard that in 5.5 years. So as a response. But it's just, folks don't like change. But we have to change. I mean, you either change and grow or you die. And so financial resources, the big challenge. I mean, when I came into office in January 2008, of all the things that I was told about, all the memos, all the meetings, no one mentioned the Great Recession was coming. So it was really inconvenient for us. But we've managed through it. We're going to change these systems and at least drag it kicking and screaming into the front end of the 21st century over the course of the next couple years. But just old equipment, old systems, all the classic stories of, this system doesn't communicate with that system and this department doesn't talk to that department, and you just have to break through all of that. So that's why we're in public service. Yes, sir.
Morning, sir. I'm Tom Keefe with HIMSS. I also have a non-IT question. What advice would you have for our Congress?
Do your job. Vote. It's what you get paid for. They're in serious distress down there. It's, as I said in my remarks, there's no mayor in the United States of America, and I would suggest not even a governor, where the citizens would tolerate the government being closed. But it also, at a certain level, shows how important cities and certainly states are, and at certain levels, how irrelevant at times the federal government and the Congress have made themselves. The idea that I could not provide service, picking up trash, putting out, having police officers and firefighters and healthcare workers and social workers and the like at work, providing service to our citizens, is so absurd and bizarre that citizens would never stand for something like that. So, I love watching these talk shows on Sunday, the little talking head shows where the members of Congress get on, they talk about whatever they talk about. And I love going on those shows with them because, I have a police department. You don't. I have a couple hundred recreation facilities that I'm responsible for. You're not. I get calls early in the morning and late at night that someone's been shot. You don't. This is what I do for a living. I provide service. You talk about service. And every now and then vote for funding to provide to cities and states all across the United States of America. So I don't think they're taking their job that seriously to even allow us to be at a place where somewhere within the next 24 hours, the United States of America, the wealthiest and most powerful nation on the planet, could put itself in danger of defaulting on our obligations and disrupt the entire world financial markets by irresponsible behavior in Washington, D.C. So they've lost their way.
Good morning, Mayor. Thank you for your comments. I'm Dan Lorman, Chief Security Officer in Michigan. And my question for you is, what do you think from across the country, but certainly from your perspective in Philadelphia, that states can work, how can states work better with cities like Philadelphia and also the private sector as well? What advice would you give to the private sector professionals and the state government professionals in the room? Thank you.
I think I would just ask, view us as partners. Philadelphia is the largest city in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. We're a city and a county. We're the only one in the state. A lot of people work here and depend on their livelihood for Philadelphia. A lot of Philadelphians work also outside the county, so there's a lot of back and forth. Sharing information, being viewed as a partner, supporting infrastructure and technology upgrades, supporting the hard infrastructure. When we talk about bridges and roads and how you get people from point A to point B, those kinds of things. We're not the enemy. Philadelphia and the 4 counties around us, we have 67 counties in Pennsylvania. those 5 counties, Philly, Bucks, Chester, Delaware, Montgomery counties, the 5 of us are 40% of the economy of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And I have no complaints with the governor in that context, but all across the country, I mean, 90% of the gross domestic product of the United States of America comes from cities and metro areas. We are the economy of the United States. And so we're partners. And fixing a bridge or a road in a city, as opposed to somewhere where there might be more animals crossing that road than there are people, are political decisions that get made on a regular basis. This is about commerce. This is about business. This is about growth. This is about development. And for the first time, apparently in the history of the world, more people live in cities than ever before. Cities are where the action is. It's where innovation and technology meet. We are the incubators of innovation, and you should be investing in cities, and certainly in education. Sure.
Mr. Mayor, right in front of you, Doug Robinson, Executive
That's why I didn't
Director
see
of-
you.
Executive Director of NASCIO, and I want to thank you for your valuable time today. I'm going to take the prerogative last question so you can run. You talked about the importance of collaboration. That's an important theme of the state chief information officers and state government, is more collaboration. We just heard about that from cities and counties and states. Talk about another sector of the economy that's of high concentration in the Philadelphia area. That's the universities and colleges.
Sure.
A great resource. So I'd like to kind of hear your thoughts on how important they are to your policy agenda.
So the largest non-government employer in the city of Philadelphia is the University of Pennsylvania. We have 101 colleges and universities in the tri-state area, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Delaware. We have one of the highest concentrations of education entities anywhere in the United States of America. We have 5 medical schools. 1 out of every 5 doctors in the country is trained here. The #1 children's hospital in the country, if not the world, is here. They are engines of economics themselves. Every one of them, every day, every year, is building something, expanding something. Penn is the #2 NIH grant recipient. When you look at what Temple and Fox Chase are doing, cancer research, the Wistar Institute, all of these places, education and medicine represent 30% of the jobs in the city of Philadelphia. When you add in life sciences and pharmaceuticals and other research areas. So they are engines of growth on their own. And I mean, we got hit hard, like every other city, through the recession, but one of the great stabilizing forces, and actually one area of growth, was in healthcare for the city of Philadelphia. And so we dipped like everyone else, but it would have been just that much worse without education and medicine as a great stabilizer for the city and for the region. So, I mean, I support investments in colleges and universities. They bring hundreds of thousands of young people to our city. And so one of the reasons we had population growth in 2010 for the first time in 60 years in Philadelphia is that 8 years ago, we were holding on to about 29% of our non-native college and university students. Today, that number is 49%, which led to a growth in population and immigrant population and empty nesters. So, I mean, they bring and draw and stay. And then one of the initiatives I'm working on right now is because of all this great research, which I love, but research for research's sake and, publishing a paper for 50 of your colleagues to read, as exciting as I'm sure that is, what I want to do is turn that research into commercialization and turn it into businesses that venture capital firms can invest in right here in Philadelphia. So thank you all very, very much. Keep up the great work.